Hi everyone, I'm Susanna and welcome back to the Millennial Jamaican. And today I'm here with Diedre. And as you know, the Millennial Jamaican is to highlight Caribbean stories, experiences, and perspective. So Diedre is a travel writer and solo travel coach for Caribbean women. So we really want to talk today about traveling and what it's like for her as a Caribbean woman traveling around the world. And she's originally from Jamaica. So, Deidre, if you want to give like a tiny intro of yourself, add anything to what I said, go ahead.
Well, Susanna, sure. Thanks. Hi, everybody. So, Susanna actually did the intro that I would do anyways. I would just say, Hi, I'm Diedre. I'm a Jamaican solo travel writer, and I teach Caribbean women how to travel solo, how to create their own epic life moments and explore the world on their own. That's what I do.
Yes. Thank you. So I wanted to start from your beginnings, and because I'm from Jamaica, so I know it's awesome growing up in Jamaica. So I wanted to hear about what it was like growing up in Jamaica. What were your beginnings like? And yeah, go ahead before I ask another question.
I know. I have this thing, my brain also just goes this like, I have the question and I'm supposed to answer it, and then my brain moves on and then it cuts off and you're just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But to answer your question, so my beginnings, all right, well, I grew up, I still actually live, I grew up in downtown Kingston. So I'm a Kingston girl. And I don't know what was my life living. So my life in Kingston has always been a little bit, for me, adventurous. My mommy would always take me out. Sort of like on the weekends, we'd go on our little, it's a solo trip for me because it was just me and my mommy. We'd go off on our random mommy-daughter trips every now and then. And I was always in school. I was a little bit of a nerd. Probably still am. I'd always, so it's just kind of like school, home, trips with my mommy. And a big part of travel was also a big part, as you can tell, of my childhood. So it started from these little trips with my mommy, leaving my daddy and my brother behind and just going off. Sometimes we just take the bus and just end up wherever. And it then moved to actually me taking my first real solo trip when I was about 10 or 11.
Yes, to Bahamas. Yes.
What? Oh, no. So when I was like about 2 or 3, something like this, really a baby, I missed Gilbert, Hurricane Gilbert.
Wow.
I moved to the Bahamas with my mommy. So it was for like about a year, I think. So that was a long time. I don't remember anything. I just remember, the only thing I remember is that I could not, and I cannot really say the word, I could not say the word boy like this, like boy. And I can't really say because of the Bahamian accents that I picked up. So I was already talking. So they say it kind of like boy. So I would say boy. And my brother, oh my God, my older brother and his friends would tease me all the time, just walk me around. Can you say boy? Say boy. And so now I can't really say boy, like in patois, hey boy, it's hard. I have to think about it a lot to get it out, and hey boy, it doesn't work too much. So
it's like
no, like I have to kind of think about it honestly. And so so that was when I was 2 thereabouts. And my first solo trip by myself, unaccompanied minor, was when I was 10 for passing common entrance. Did you take common entrance exam? Do you know this exam?
I know common entrance because my mother did it. My mother did it. And my grandmother, am I lying? I think, anyway, they're still a part of, the stories that your grandparents hear. So I heard of common entrance. I think
I was, oh no. I was one of the last years, so that means I'm older than you, clearly. I was one of the last years of GSAT, not of common entrance, not the last year, but second to last, maybe something like this. Anyway, so I traveled to New York, was my first solo trip by myself when I was maybe 10 or 11. And since then, and I did this like every year up until maybe 18.
I live in New York now, so that's no.
Maybe I did it up until 21. Enough years, lots of years. Every single summer or winter, I would be in New York.
Winter?
So yeah. So at least a quarter of my life, of my teenage years, preteen to teenage years, was spent in New York. So my teenager self is half Jamaican, half New Yorker. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of Jamaicans that are like that, like me. At this point, I guess I'm considered a New Yorker because I've been here for 10 years. I think that's the stamp. As an immigrant, you're finally a New Yorker after 10 years. But what was it like traveling here when you were so young, experiencing the cold? Because that's not normal. New York cold not normal, winter not normal here.
So what I remember, which is my mommy, so when I traveled to New York, I don't know, it was just exciting. Travel is always exciting for me. So it was just exciting to see. For me, I remember like the different houses, the way the houses were structured and how they would, how the neighborhoods and the communities were organized was different for me. Seeing the big roads, the highways, and just, that was interesting. And I was with my cousins, my auntie and cousins, and we got to go out and actually got to integrate into the community because my cousins would go to the library a lot and there would be like activities and workshops. So I met people from the community. So I don't feel like I had I didn't have a huge tourist New York life. So I had lots of, and then when I would so I'd stay with aunties and then my parents and my brother, they all live in New York now as well. So going back and forth to visit family, I also had like New York friends or other kids from a high school who migrated. I would like link up with them and they would bring their high school friends. And so I had a lot of like local integration. But winter though, my first winter, the only thing I was not impressed by snow. You'd watch TV and you watch TV and see the pretty snow and everything, and I'm just like, and I was like, so finally the winter. I think I was there maybe a week, and it wouldn't snow, right? And I was like, is it gonna snow? Is it gonna snow, mommy? Is it gonna snow? And she was like, I don't know. It's kind of like too cold. We'll see, right? And then finally, is it gonna snow? I was like, yes! And I run upstairs, and I run outside, right? And then I look around and I was like, but it's freezer ice. It's like Kisco ice, the ice truck when there's the shaved ice cream, the shaved thing, the shaved ice. I was like, but this is it. It don't look like this on TV. I was like, someone just like, just kiss my teeth and go back inside. And I was like, mommy, this is snow? She's like, yes. Yeah. I was like, so why you never tell me it's freezer ice? I was not impressed. Okay, I was not impressed. I was not impressed. I was a little mad.
They still live the whole dream, man. American really.
Yeah. Listen, I was and then they didn't show, and then of course it rained, it snowed, and then the outside, I'm like, but why it's so dirty? Because of course there's dirt on the ground, and you walk in, and they make all this slush, and I was like, this is ugly. This is not cute, right? That was one of my biggest shocks. I was like, okay, so snow is not cute. As beautiful as you see on
TV.
It is really nice though when it's untouched. And like that first look when you go outside and like you see everything and nobody's trampling on anything.
That's weird, though. You have to live in
that's really nice. Yeah. Or like if you have a garden or something. Yeah. That's really beautiful.
In New York, you don't really have any garden. Many people just live in apartments.
What I do like about winter though is the silence of snow. That is a beautiful, I don't know if you've ever noticed, or like when snow falls, there is this silence. It's like padded and there's just nothing. And for me, it's so calming. And that's what I love. For me, that's the beauty in snow and winter time. It's the silence of snowfall. That's what I really, really like. Yeah, so that's my travel childhood history, just traveling back and forth as an unaccompanied minor, with the air hostess. Please sit down, and you have the tag. I used to have used to get this airport pouch that would say unaccompanied minor.
I remember
so that the air hostess would know.
like that,
Yes. Oh my God, that was my life. That was my life.
Drop off somebody.
That was my life. So that's kind of really how I got into travel. Yeah.
But those experiences are valuable though. When you can travel as a child, it gives you a different perspective also, and then I wanted to know, what was it like? Because after your childhood of traveling, yeah, what was it like taking your first leap and moving somewhere permanently? Quite permanently, right? So a different country that might not speak, did not speak English as their primary language. What was it like? What did your experience make it easier to settle in, adopt?
Some things. Me having going abroad so much when I was younger, it helped in some ways. So it helped. So it was familiar going on a plane by myself. It was familiar. There was this familiarity of packing suitcase and luggages and packing for different climates, and having that checklist of, oh, I need a coat, oh, I need boots, oh, I need to layer things, and understanding what I would need for different climates, for example. So it really helped me with packing. It really helped me with just being by myself and navigating the airport, because and I had to go to a different airport, and each airports are so different. They're also like little countries in themselves, and trying to figure out where to go is also different. So I think I went through, did I go through? No, not that trip, but I went through the Miami airport the first time, and the Miami airport it's a maze. It's so huge. I was like, this is nothing like JFK. I cannot find my way around. I was so lost. It was overwhelming. So traveling as a child during having those summer vacations in New York helped with that. But moving to a whole new country, so I moved to France. When I took my leap and be like, I'm doing this. Screw my job. So I quit my job, resign, everything.
What made you do that? Why?
My job wasn't fulfilling, and it wasn't what I wanted to do. And it was actually in the middle of the financial crisis. It was in 2007 when 2008. No, lies. 2009 was when I first moved to France. So it was around 2008, 2009. There was a financial crisis. There was job freezing. And I was like, but I don't want to do this job. I'm already going on to 2 years, and I had said I do not want to be in this job for 2 years, for more than 2 years, because I knew, right? I knew I would be so bored. It was not fulfilling. And I was like, what do you do in a financial crisis? I need to pivot. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And I always wanted to study abroad because of a Swedish friend that I had in high school. She was an exchange student, and we became friends. And she told me about study abroad. That's how I learned about studying abroad. And she told me, for example, studying in Sweden or in Scandinavia is free. And I was like, wait, what? But I'm an international student, won't have to pay international fees, which is similar to the American education system, which is what I knew of, other than Jamaica, right? And she was like, no, education is for everybody. There's no separation. You just pay whatever it is. I was like, wait, what? And so fast forward to the financial crisis, and I was like, yo, I have to get to this job. This is kill me now. Maybe I shouldn't do that on screen, but it was not happening. But so I was like, what can I do? What can I do? I need a job, and I need to get out of here. And I had started picking up back French classes because I was so bored with my job. I was like, my brain cells are dying. I really need to do something with myself. And so I started back French classes, because in university I did French. And I also participated in like this French play, it was an all French play that was nerve wracking to express emotions in a different language. Not so. Anyways, and I had a mask on. Oh God, it was. Anyways, it was an adventure.
Yeah.
And so I had started doing French classes, and I knew that they did the teaching assistant program. So I was like, yo, this is it. This is my ticket. I am leaving. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't really tell my parents, nothing. I just like applied. In fact, I called my doctor. So because we're close, I called him uncle. And I was like, Uncle, I need a break. How do I get off work? Because this application is coming up and I don't know what's going on. And he's like, what? Where are you going? So he was like the first person I told that I wanted to apply. Anyways, I applied. He's like, what's going on? But I applied and I got accepted to move to France, work in France as a teaching assistant, an English teaching assistant. But the wait is so long. I had to wait so I found out, let's say you do the interview in January, you find out if you're accepted in April, March, and then you don't know where you're going until maybe July. So it was this nerve wracking, and I was like, so I had to wait for 4 months before I was like, oh, I'm accepted. I'm like, but I can't tell my father that I'm accepted to go to this random country, go to France, where he's going to ask, where are you going? Who are you going with? Where are you sleeping? He's going to go through the whole question. I have no answers, right? The only thing I know is, oh, you've been accepted. Congratulations. So I had to wait until July to tell my parents. And I was like, oh, so I am moving to France, and it's the end of July, by the way. And I'm gonna resign in 2 weeks. No, I'm gonna resign. I saved up this money. It's this job, and I leave in 2 months. He's like, what? He's like, oh, okay, all right. And then we went through, some periods, and then finally, I think it hit him some days later. Some days later, and he was like, "So where are you going?" And I was like, "Okay, I'm moving to France. I'm doing these things, etc., etc." Moving to France. The 2 days before I got to France, I was in the UK with visiting my cousins, because I moved to the south of France, which is Toulouse, and it's the fourth, I don't know what the stats are, but when I was there, it was the fourth largest city in France. And it's like a university town, and it's the headquarters of Airbus, where they make, the manufacture planes. Oh. And so I was moving to Toulouse, but it's like a 45-minute flight from London. And so I had one of my cousins who I'm really close to was living in London. So I was like, okay, let me stop over. So I moved from Kingston to New York to London to France to Toulouse. The New York to London trip was, anyways, that's another story. I have too many stories. So I was in London with my cousin, checking email, everything, because I had the contact from my school, because I was moving abroad to study, right? No, to work.
To work, yeah.
Right, to work as an English teaching assistant. And I had, of course, a contact from the school, the French school, etc. 2 days before I'm supposed to arrive, I get an email that says, oh, you can't stay with, I'm sorry, but you can't stay with me for the first 2 weeks that you're here. It's like a little small bed, and I don't know if you're going to be comfortable staying. I was like, who give a damn about if it's comfortable? I just want a freaking bed in this new country where I don't know anybody.
Where are you supposed to go?
Oh my God. Right, exactly. So I was like, what is this? So I look at his cousin. I was like, I don't even. I was like, you know what? We're going to the park. Let's go to the park. We're going to the park. So we went to the park, and she's like, shouldn't you be? I'm like, I'm going to the park, I'm going to enjoy this thing, and then I'm going to deal with that. Apparently, this is my coping mechanism. I just kind of like ignore. Sometimes I go to sleep when problems are. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to sleep. And then I come back and process whatever this is. So anyways, I finally decided to take on this email of, you are homeless in the country that you're homeless in anyways. You're homeless in France. You'll be in 2 days, fun times. And so I was like, okay, what do I do? Start searching for hotels. I was like, these prices are ridiculous because it can't just be for one night. I need at least like a week so that I can situate myself, figure out what's going on. Of course, clearly like a miracle, because people are kind everywhere, right? I had gotten in touch with, there was an American that was at my school that was also stationed at my school as an English teaching assistant as well. And literally, she was like, "Oh, all right, Diedre's coming. That Jamaican girl is coming soon. Let me send her an email." So when I came back, when I was searching for the hotels, I got the email from my friend Sarah, the American, to say, "Hi, I just remembered that you're coming soon. Do you want me to pick you up? I can meet you at the metro station." No. So because there's a metro that connects directly. So metro is subway. Sorry, what the word is metro, and that's what I learned. Sorry. I know. Yeah. To the metro station, and I was like, okay. I was like, should I ask? I was like, well, I also have this challenge. Do you know of anywhere I could stay? Because, I got kicked out before I even arrived at the place. And she's like, wait, what? And she's like, okay, well, you can stay at my apartment, but you can only stay for 4 days because I'm moving out and they're coming to inspect and I can't have guests. Mm-hmm. But you can stay for like 3 or 4 days. And I was like, yes, I'll take it. So that's how I arrived in this foreign country where they don't speak the language. They don't,
But that must
I know nobody.
So many, it's like almost like something was trying to prevent you from making that move because there were so many blocks, so many rivers to cross before you finally could settle. And when you finally did settle, what was it like living there? Because I think France is the one you stayed in for the longest, right?
Yeah. So I lived in France for about 5.5 years in total. Right. So my cousin actually asked me that question. I was like, well, I'm already here. I'm already in the UK, so I'm just gonna go. I'm not gonna turn back now. Already halfway there, so it's halfway there. So do I go back home or do I'll just continue and see where the journey leads me. So I arrived in France, right? Living in France. So I lived in, I guess you could say 5 countries on 4 continents. So I don't remember the Bahamas. No, there's Jamaica. So let's just say that's the Caribbean. And then Bahamas and Jamaica. I consider that I lived in the US because I've spent cumulatively at least about 10 years in the US, maybe 8 or something, because it's huge chunks of my life. Huge chunks of teenager where sometimes Jamaicans are talking about things and I'm just like, I don't know what a Jamaican summer really is like. I never go to country. I never go summer school. I don't know what No, because I was in New York. So I don't know. So there's a quarter of every year age of my life in teenage years that is in New York. So there's New York.
So you partially grew up fine.
Whenever there's like, you hear things on the news, you hear all these things. Like I can relate to riding the subway and having to do all these transfers.
I've seen you on the subway before. Yes, I saw it in one of your videos. I was like, oh God, subway.
I'm getting lost, figuring out uptown versus downtown, and you're just like,
it's the most confusing. Look, like European subways metros seem much more organized than New York. New York can fix it, but are they gonna fund it? I don't know.
I mean, some of it is a habit.
The
Some
Marines
of
was
it, some
here.
some of it is a hot mess. Like the
It's a
Paris
hot mess.
Metro is a hot mess, but New York is a mess. New York is
I think
New
it's the
York.
worst of the worst in the
I
world.
don't know.
Let's
No,
talk about.
I have some fun memories. There's some kinship to the New York subway. You have to go through. It's a rite of passage. But so I did. So let's see. So I lived in Bahamas, which I don't remember. There's Jamaica. There's the US. There's New York. And then I lived in India. I lived in Colombia, and so France. So it's 6, right? All right. So living in France. France was one of the most shocking countries in the sense where, again, the media, don't trust the media, guys. It's real, but also not real. Don't listen to what you see on the media. It was shocking I didn't know how bureaucratic it was going to be. So there's a lot of paper and paperwork, and it just drives you nuts, and you're just like, why? Everything takes 3 to 6 weeks. Oh, listen, everything is 3 to 6 weeks. You're just like, oh, okay. Even to post something, it's gonna take about 3 weeks. You're like, okay. Everything takes 3 to 6 weeks. And so, having that sort of like rushed New York customer service, the customer is always right. Kind of like experience, and then Jamaicans are impatient, even though things take long in Jamaica.
Yeah,
there's this sort of like expectation.
The waiting.
Yes, but there's this sort of like expectation that things take long in Jamaica because it's a third world country, it's a developing country, and there's this expectation that developed countries are not supposed to be like that. But France was like that. France is like that. You have to wait a lot. They go through a lot of paperwork. Yeah. So that was a big shock. And I'm talking about mundane things, right? But it's funny how it's always like the little things that are like, it's the little things that like shock you. Like I never even think about this. I never even, process that. And this is what's bothering me, or this is what's shocking me. And another one was the language, of course, the language. So remember, I had studied French, and I did, the French play, and I went to French classes and all these things. And then I landed in Toulouse, which is in the south, and they have their own accent.
Oh.
Even when you go to a region that is it's like what you hear, what you study, it's nothing like in the real life, right? It's like it's like an American who doesn't have like Caribbean experience dropping in the middle of St. Elizabeth, or even in Kingston, dropping into Kingston, and everybody is talking straight patois, and you're just like, I'm hearing things that sound like English, that sound like a language that I know, but it's not. So that was that really affected my confidence. I could read French, but it really affected my confidence just going around. I'm like, I'm following in conversations, and just these tiny words which shift. And, so for example, the word viens means to come, right? So they're like, are you coming? And, it would be something like, est-ce que tu viens? Right? Est-ce que tu viens ici? Are you coming here? Right? And that's what you study, and that's what you hear, and that's what you're expecting. But instead, in conversation, you hear, tu viens ici? And I'm like, huh? Bien?
So they have like a dialect of it?
It's just the accent. So
just pronunciation kind of.
The pronunciation. There is a dialect in Toulouse, but it's also like a different language. It's Occitan because it's close to the Catalan region of like Barcelona, Spain.
Barcelona,
Right. So there is a different language that I used to speak, and that impacted and influenced the way that they talk French now. So being, and you're just like, what's this word? It's supposed to be viens, but it's now being. I don't know. And
so does this mean that you speak like you can speak standard French and their dialect, like in their accent?
So Yes. So what happens is some of the words that are, so for example, we call them chocolate croissants. So it's the bread. It's like that croissant bread with the chocolates folded into it.
Mm-hmm. I know what you're talking. I think they have them
right
in all of Europe, I guess.
Yeah, it's
I remember
right.
having that. Yeah.
So it's usually in standard French. In standard French, it's going to be called a pain au chocolat. So chocolate bread.
Yeah.
But in Toulouse, it's chocolatine. And so I learned chocolatine. And so when I moved, actually, because I moved to two places, two different cities while I was in France. And also when I visit to other countries or visit friends in Paris, I would go to the boulangerie, so I'd go to the bakery and ask for a chocolatine, and they're like, au sud. They're like, you're from the south. I'm like, yeah. Or so what happens is, the phrases, and also because I'm learning, right? Yeah. And I have no reference and I have no background. So I'm just going to pick up the language from where I am. And I'm in the South. So I pick up these phrases and I think that they're normal because they're everybody uses it where, that surrounds me. And everywhere I go, I'm like, you're from the South. Toulouse. And I'm like, oh yes. So that was kind of like fun. But moving to France, Tell me.
But in the southern part of France, so I don't know much about that, right? But I'm asking because I remember you did this video about your hair, right? I get in products. You were saying by far France was like the easiest country to find black hair products, I guess, or even salons to do something with your hair. What was that experience like?
Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more Caribbean conversation.